From the studios of UNO Television, this is the Omaha News Vote 2013, the Omaha primary election presented by the University of Nebraska-Omaha School of Communication.
Good evening. Welcome to the Omaha News Vote 2013, coverage of the Omaha primary election. I'm Lauren Harahill.
And I'm Marie Hanusek. Today, Omaha voters went to the polls to choose the candidates for mayor and city council in the upcoming city election, which will be held on May 14th. 7 people are running for mayor, and all 7 city council seats are up for election.
And there's a little bit of history in today's election. Earlier this year, a Nebraska legislator voted to reorganize the Omaha Public School District Board. The size of the board was reduced from 12 down to 9, and every seat became open again. 39 candidates have filed for election across the 9 subdistricts.
Tonight, we have the complete campaign coverage. We'll report on each of the races for mayor, city council, and school board. We also have reporters at the campaigning events of Jim Settle, Brad Ashford, Gene Stothert, Dan Welch, and Dave Nabity.
Joining us as our political commenter is our friend Dr. Pal Landau, who should be familiar to Omaha News viewers. We'll also hear from other experts during the evening.
Polls closed just a couple of minutes ago. Reporter Paul Dobler joins us live from the Douglas County Election Commissioner's office at 114th and Dodge to tell us how the process went today. Paul?
Thanks, Lauren and Marie. Today I had the chance to go out to various polling places in Sarpy and Douglas counties to get an idea of what voter turnout would be like.
The polls are now closed for the 2013 primary election, and it doesn't seem like many people went out to vote today. One Sarpy County polling inspector, who did not want to be on camera, stated that with only the one item on the ballot, they didn't think that the turnout would be very large. One polling place in Sarpy County only had 5 voters come out. Another only had 4 voters turn out. Voters in Douglas County have more items on the ballot, but would the turnout be any better? At one polling place, there were no voters coming in or out of the building, while at another, a voter quipped that only 281 had come out to vote. The election commissioner's office is only predicting about an 18% voter turnout.
I am currently joined with Douglas County Commissioner's Public Relations Coordinator Valerie Stoy. Now, Valerie, the election commissioner, Dave Phipps, predicted about an 18% voter turnout. Do you think that is still an accurate estimate, and why?
Based on the midday delivery, we wouldn't anticipate a rate any higher than that. We'd love to be wrong. We'd love to have a strong voter turnout from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. For our final numbers, of course, we'll have to wait for the results, but the midday delivery was fairly light.
Okay, now I was out at First Christian Church on Dodge Road, and a person complained about their polling place being changed. Has your office received any complaints on this today?
I think in any election there's a bit of confusion about polling place locations. We try to minimize the changes, but for this election, like many others, we do have to make some changes. We made every effort to send communication, either a postcard or a letter, to voters whose polling place is changed. Sometimes those don't get delivered, sometimes they don't get read. So while we regret if there is confusion about polling places, it's kind of inevitable with this many people involved.
Okay, and now with Sarpy County casting votes, how is your office receiving those ballots this evening?
Sarpy County is counting and receiving their own ballots. When their results are complete tonight, they'll convey those to us, and we'll share joint results. We'll list their separate and our separate, and then a combined amount. The final results, of course, won't be available until any provisional ballots and early ballots cast today are counted as well.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Stoy. Reporting live from the Douglas County Election Commissioner's office for the Omaha News, I'm Paul Dobler.
Thanks, Paul. Reporters in our newsroom will bring your election results all night. Kevin Grace will be reporting on the 7-way mayoral race, and Tasia Velasquez will have the numbers from the city council contests. We'll start with Kevin Grace. Kevin?
Thanks, Marie. You know, voters may have seen 7 names on the ballots today, but many experts believe it's actually a 4-way race for who will oppose Mayor Jim Settle in November. As an incumbent, Mayor Settle knows how to run a campaign. He's already survived a bitter recall election in 2011 and knows what it takes. He also takes responsibility for the budget surplus. Councilwoman Gene Stothert has spent the most amount of money outside of Suttle, Stoddard feels confident that her experience on the Millard School Board and her 4+ years in the City Council and her willingness to go toe-to-toe with the powerful fire union will give voters a reason to check the box next to her name. Omaha businessman Dave Nabity feels his distance from politics is what sets him aside from the other candidates. Having held no elected office, Nabity claims his business acumen and his new ideas will help aid Omaha voters. Brad Ashford's political resume is long. He is currently a Nebraska state legislator. Ashford is the lone independent on the ballot and has been nominated for positions by Republican Hal Dobb and Democrat Bob Kerrey, making him uniquely bipartisan. Dan Welch, a former city councilman and current lawyer, is also vying for mayor. Welch has vowed to tackle the police and fire pension plans that have plagued the city politics for years. There are 2 dark horse candidates that are long shots, to say the least. Maura DeLuca, a proud candidate from the Socialist Party, promises more child care centers and hospitals. Mort Sullivan, having not participated in any of the debates or candidate forums, may have the hardest road to the mayor's mansion. And if you think it's this graphic shows the names that they may have appeared on our ballot today to our audience who may not have made it to the polls. If you think it's crowded for the mayoral primaries, our city council has 21 candidates in all running for the 7 open seats. Tasia Velasquez has more.
Thank you, Kevin. There are 7 city council seats here in Omaha, and we are looking forward to some contested races. But let's start with taking a look at District 1. District 1 encompasses much of North Omaha, Benson, Dundee, and goes as far west as the Crossroads Mall area. District 1 has 2 candidates, Pete Festerson, the incumbent, and Ed Trumper. Both will be moving on to the general election on May 14th. Festerson's top priorities include being tough on crime, holding the line on taxes, increasing community development, and job creation. The issues Trumper plans to focus on are improving neighborhoods and city services, budget transparency, and making Omaha a destination city. District 2 encompasses the majority of North Omaha. Candidates include incumbent Ben Gray, Timothy Ashford, Tariq Almin, Timothy Ashford, Bruce Hunter, and Dennis Womack. Almin hopes to fix quality of life issues and seeks to reform city pension systems and increase oversight on the police department. Ashford aims to use his experience running a law firm to jumpstart the North Omaha economy. Gray has focused his campaign on job creation and economic development, as well as crime prevention and gang reductions. Hunter is the youngest challenger for the 2nd District City Council seat. He believes part of the North Omaha's recovery efforts must also include city partnerships with the Omaha Public Schools. Womack is a former Deputy Douglas County Election Commissioner who wants to use his grant writing experience to enhance area workforce development programs and create a community-based advisory board for law enforcement. The 3rd district encompasses most of the Elmwood area and includes candidates J.R. Jasso and Chris Durham, who is the incumbent. Both will advance to the general election. Jasso believes the role of government should provide people the freedom necessary to pursue their own goals. Jasso wants to emphasize empowerment of the individuals to solve problems. Durham's main issues are commitment to public safety, commitment to community, commitment to strengthen the city, and commitment to fiscal discipline. The 4th district is mainly made up of South Omaha. Its candidates include incumbent Gary Gernand, Virgil Patlin Sr., and Jacob Parasso. Gernand has been on the Omaha City Council since 2001. He hopes to continue his focus on prioritizing public safety, working for a stronger South Omaha, and providing more efficient government. Patlin Sr. has worked with Gernand while on the police force. He is working to differentiate himself by taking strong positions on city finances and recent council decisions. Parasso is an assembly worker who is pushing for major changes in labor and immigration. Parasso is a long-term activist with the Socialist Workers' Party and sees Omaha as an ideal place to start a movement to improve conditions for workers. The 5th district includes Millard and Southwest Omaha. It does not have an incumbent since Gene Stother is running in the mayor's race. Both Jeff Moore and Rich Pauls will move on to the general election. Moore hopes to solve issues on development here in Omaha, the future for our youth, taxes and spending, and on the crime. Pauls wants to work to bring people together, regulate taxes, implement smarter spending, and cut down on crime, just to name a few. The 6th district encompasses West Central Omaha, which includes Phil Klein and Franklin Thompson, who is the incumbent. Both will advance to the general election. Klein is the former mayor of Elkhorn. He was also elected as a city councilman for the city of Elkhorn in 1988 and served until elected mayor. Klein has over 30 years of computer technology experience in a variety of industries. Thompson has been a 3-term elected representative to District 6, with his first term beginning May 9, 2001. Thompson has had a long-standing career within education, associate professor at the University of Nebraska at Omaha for the past 13 years, former counselor at Creighton Prep High School for 5 years, and over 16 years with the OPS. District 7 includes Cameron Gales, Don Krupa, Tim Lonergan, Amy Milton, and Thomas Mulligan. Although Thomas Mulligan is an incumbent, he will be running for election for the first time on the City Council. Cameron Gales hopes to lower taxes, increase public safety, improve road conditions, and make more of a community presence. Don Krupa served on the board of Metropolitan Utilities District from 1979 to 1995. During that time, he negotiated several contracts with unionized public employees and cut costs. If elected, his #1 issue would be addressing the shortfall in police and fire funding. Tim Lonergan has lived in District 7 for 20 years and knows many of the residents and the problems that they face. He has served 21 years in the Coast Guard and Navy Reserve. As a former attorney with Douglas County, Amy Milton believes her background in law enforcement would help her on the City Council. Milton believes the city needs to invest in more police officers and more training, although it would require more cuts elsewhere in the budget. Thomas Mulligan was elected council president in June 2011, shortly after he was appointed to City Council. Mulligan retired as director of passenger train operations after 35 years with Union Pacific Railroad. Back to you, Marie.
Thank you, Tasia. Dr. Paul Lando is a professor of political science at UNO and has been our political commentator for many of our election programs. Dr. Landau, thanks for joining us again.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, I understand we have some numbers. Are they meeting your expectations?
Well, let's put it this way. This is not the way Mayor Suttle wanted to start the evening. Councilwoman Stothard is ahead of him by a couple thousand votes. It's far too early to make much of it, other than to say not a good start for the incumbent mayor.
And have you seen any trends develop with these numbers at all in terms of other candidates?
Well, not just yet, because the only numbers that are in so far are the very first wave. So that would be the early pickup from the Douglas County Election Commissioner. And I don't even think that absentee ballots have been counted in there yet. I think they're generally in the second wave. So it's hard to say much yet. Other than most of the incumbents seem to be doing well, except for the mayor.
Okay, so in speaking of the commissioner, Dave Phipps, he was speculating that about 18% of voters would show up to the polls today. Do you think that number is consistent, and why is it so low?
It's difficult to say why it's so low, but it's far too low for a city our size. It's unfortunate when that small number of people decide important elections like this. But this is the bane of political scientists and politicians, to try to figure out why election turnout is so low and see what we can do about it.
And as far as Stothard goes with her lead, do you think any of the mudslinging played into it? I mean, did it give her more publicity, or how do you see that playing out?
I think that's entirely possible. She was beat up pretty badly, and first of all, I don't think it hurt her that she was the only female in the race. Second of all, women in particular, female voters, were angry at some of the sexist nature of the attacks, and I think that ultimately helped her a little bit.
And in terms of the anatomy of this race, did you see anything different this time in comparison with mayoral races in the past?
Well, they're always different. The unusual part of this race is the fact that there were 5 legitimate candidates, and all 5 were solid, all 5 clearly capable of being mayor. That's pretty unusual in Omaha. We don't generally get that number of high-quality candidates.
And those candidates have had such a diverse background. How do you think that affected their position on some of the major topics they were talking about?
Well, one of the major topics was the union contracts, and most of the people running for mayor had some experience with the contracts, all but Dave Nabity and Brad Ashford. While some of them came at it with experience, others came at it claiming they could make changes that were basically claims that were born of lack of experience. So I think sometimes experience is helpful, and in this case, those contracts are pretty complicated, and it's pretty tough to know much about them without some experience.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Paul Landau. We appreciate your input, and we'll be checking in with you throughout the evening. Kelly Schultz is in the newsroom covering today's Omaha Public School Board election. Kelly?
Thank you, Marie. There were 39 names on the ballot for the OPS school board today, but only 18 will be advancing to the general election next month. In District 1, James English is in the lead with 345 votes. Aja Anderson with 103, Larry Taylor with 188, LaDonna White York with 251, and Yolanda Williams with 316. In District 2, Mark Snow is in the lead with 281, Morgan Price with 243, Neokia Stewart with 254. In District 3, OPS School Board President Marion Fay is currently in the lead with 831 votes. Bambi Bartek, another incumbent of the OPS School Board, has 158. Woody Bradford has 286. Bill Huff has 94. Michael Warner has 158. In District 4, Justin Wayne has 600 votes, followed closely by Jill Brown with 578, Eric Ewing with 283. In District 5, Lou Ann Goding is leading with 405, Nikki Diamantis with 54, Jennifer T. Kirschenbaum with 364, Angel Martin with 38, Jeff Miller with 295, Scott Zimmerman with 85. In District 6, Nancy Kratke, another incumbent of the OPS School Board, is leading with 870, with Barbara Doughton, 527, Joseph Misiunas with 94, Matt Scanlon with 807. In District 7, Katie Underwood is leading with 899, Andy Allen with 384, and Danielle Barada with 374. In District 8, Lacey Merica has 133, Meg Cordes has 96, William Forsey 102 votes, Juliana Garza 84 votes, Eugene Hoffman with 87 votes, and Mark Wallens with 69 votes. In District 9, Rebecca Barrientos Patlin has 300 votes, Sarah Brumfield 251, William Gahn 180, and Brian Villafuerte with 85. And back to you, Lauren.
Thanks, Kelly. This year, for the first time, the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce got involved in the OPS board race by forming a political action committee that gave money to the campaigns of 6 candidates. The Omaha World Herald reported the PAC raised $50,000 as of the middle of March and has spent $18,000 on the 6 candidates. In addition, the Chamber recruited 6 of the candidates: Lou Ann Goding, Katie Underwood, Mark Snow, Matt Scanlon, and Woody Bradford. Each of them has received money from the Chamber PAC, along with Justin Wayne and Jeff Miller. Wendy Boyer is the Chamber's Senior Vice President of Community Investment and Advocacy, and she's with us tonight to talk about the PAC. Wendy, thanks for being with us.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
So why did the Chamber of Commerce feel the need to step in on this OPS election and create a PAC and endorse candidates?
We've, I think, had a growing interest in education and the importance that that plays in creating the talent and the workforce that our businesses need and our economy needs. So we've had a growing interest in the importance of that and felt that it was time to get involved and get more engaged in the Omaha Public Schools race. So.
Well, the article said that you guys were kind of backing candidates that have more of a business interest. Do you feel that candidates with a business interest will be beneficial to a public school board?
Not everybody has a business interest, but looking more for leadership skills, management experience, people that have had responsibility for financial management. When you think that the Omaha Public Schools has as large a budget and actually a larger general fund budget than the city of Omaha, we need individuals on there that bring that expertise and also the outside perspective and experiences. When you look at our school board, it's over the years largely been former OPS employees, and bringing in people that have different experiences, different perspectives can bring a broader community base that we can advocate for and help build alliances and allegiance with the school district.
That's great. Well, I noticed that none of the incumbents that are running, you guys haven't endorsed any of those. Do you feel that the incumbents don't serve the OPS school board in the best interest?
Well, we did provide some support to Justin Wayne, who is an incumbent. So basically, we were hoping that all of the races, there would be no candidates running unopposed. And so we wanted to bring in and try and encourage races that would have several candidates in the district. And I think you see that has occurred. There are good candidates running in some of these districts that maybe filed on their own that we did not necessarily help to encourage or recruit or reach out to, that filed on their own as well. So we're pleased with some of the quality of the candidates.
That's great. Do you think that your PAC intends to be involved with any future elections?
Yes, I believe when we're looking at 2014 and we've got a governor's race and 19 senator races that will be open, I think we will be involved in that as well. We think that's important to weigh in and ensure we have quality candidates running for our legislature as well.
So do you really feel like it was the Chamber of Commerce's place to create a PAC and get involved?
Absolutely. Our economic development, our community is very dependent on the policies and the leadership that are in place, and so we have a stake in that, in ensuring that there's quality leaders. The Chamber's long had a history of leadership development, running Leadership Omaha programs, Omaha Executive Institute programs, and trying to encourage leaders to take on community service, to serve on boards and in public elected positions, and so this is just really an extension of that effort.
Okay. Well, since you guys said that you plan on being involved in future elections, you've raised about $50,000 and you've only used about $18,000. Do you plan on getting involved in maybe this mayoral race or the city council?
We will discuss that, I think, after the results tonight, and our board will certainly look at that and make decisions about what they might want to do going forward.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Wendy.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. We actually have Katie Wagner at the Jim Settle campaign. Katie?
Thanks, Marie. With me, I have Mayor Settle's campaign spokesperson, Ralph Rummert. Ralph, can you tell me, how are you feeling right now about the poll numbers as they're coming in right now?
Well, thanks, Katie. We feel pretty good about the poll numbers coming in. So,
do you have anything to say in the regards of what Jim has done to campaign thus far, and what, if he makes the ballot, what he will do for the future general election?
well, I know it's still early, but based on what the initial projections are and the initial returns, it looks like, no matter what happens, we'll be getting through to the general election, so we're happy about that. Whether or not we come first or second doesn't really matter at this point. Once we get to a two-person race, the strategy changes significantly.
Thank you, Ralph. Reporting live from the Jim Settle campaign, I'm Katie Wagner for the Omaha News. Back to you, Marie.
Thanks, Katie. Coming up, we'll have the first numbers from the Douglas County Election Commissioner.
And our Omaha News reporters are stationed at each of the 5 leading mayoral campaigns. We'll hear from each of them. You're watching the Omaha News Vote 2013.
You are a leader, someone who works hard to achieve your goals. You can see it. You can see your success in front of you. You pursue a college education for the old-fashioned reasons. To learn, to make yourself more valuable, to succeed. You need a place that celebrates your ambition and positions you alongside visionary people just like you. You, my friend, belong here, the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
The first broadcast was to be at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. We'd pre-taped it. And they pushed the switch and nothing happened.
That certainly was an interesting experience with me. I mean, I'd spent 2 years essentially getting this station ready, and we had everything prepared to go, and then we flipped the switch and heard silence.
Somehow the line had got wired through a light switch.
Mm-hmm. And a guy out there went off shift at 4 o'clock at the exact moment we were to go on. He pushed the switch and we went off the air before we went on.
The engineer went back to this little room, turned the lights on. And I said, well, everything's fine here, always everything seems to be working. So, okay, well, we've got a signal now. So the guy thinks, well, I'll go home. He goes home, turns the light switch off, then KVNO goes off the air again.
We were supposed to sign on at 4, and I think it must have been about 5:30 when we finally got the thing on the air. That was certainly an experience I'll never forget.
Good afternoon. KVNO, the voice of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, now begins its regular broadcast schedule. Welcome to Fine Arts Radio for Greater Omaha, KVNO.
PBS is the place you should go first.
There are no advertisers to be satisfied, only an audience to be satisfied.
We take our responsibility as journalists very seriously. We are constantly thinking about our viewers and what they care about.
We want to let you know what the information is, and then you decide what you want to think.
At the News Hour, we are after the facts and only the facts.
Welcome back to our election coverage. The polls have been closed for about 20 minutes now. Let's go back to the newsroom for the latest numbers, starting with Kevin Grace. Kevin?
The first numbers are in, and it's kind of what we expected, but also really close too. Leading the pack right now is Councilwoman Jean Stothert, with 6,981 votes. Right behind her is Mayor Jim Suttle. He's at 4,979. With the other three candidates that we thought were going to be all front runners here, that four-way race I was talking about earlier. Dave Nabity is next. He's got just over 3,500 votes. Right behind him at almost 2,800 votes would be Brad Ashford, and then Dan Welch, not too far behind Ashford. One interesting thing so far with campaign spending, it looks like Jean Stothert might be at about $60 a vote, whereas Jim Suttle is over $130 a vote so far. And those numbers will drop as more votes pour in. But right now, the race is shaping up to be a pretty close one for mayor, so this is exciting. We'll stay on it all night. Tasia?
Thanks, Kevin. Well, for the Omaha City Council, we do have some numbers in. Pete Festerson is in the lead with 2,008 votes, followed by Ed Trumper, 1,016. Both will advance to the general election, which is May 16th. District 2, Ben Gray is in the lead with 495 votes. Tariq Almin has 355 votes. Bruce Hunter, 280 votes. Timothy Ashford, 213 votes. And then Dennis Womack has 114. In District 3, Chris Durham is in the lead with 1,427 votes. J.R. Jasso has 750. Both will advance to the general election. District 4, Gary Gernand is in the lead with 1,102 votes. Virgil Patlin has 490 votes, and Jacob Perazzo has 138. In District 5, Rich Pauls is in the lead with 2,022 votes, followed by Jeff Moore with 1,432 votes. Both will advance to the general election. District 6, Franklin Thompson is in the lead with 2,630 votes. Phil Klein has 1,706 votes. Both will advance to the general election. In District 7, in the lead is Amy Melton with 1,366 votes, Tim Lonergan with 869 votes, Thomas Mulligan with 709 votes, Don Krupa with 236, and Cameron Gales with 122 votes. Back to you, Lauren.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Tasia. What's interesting is right now, one of our reporters is at Brad Ashford's campaign, and Brad Ashford has been in legislature since 1986, and now he's running for mayor of Omaha.
That's right, Lauren, and he's really known as being an independent. He's actually been called the absent-minded professor of politicians, but he owns it, and he says, you know, I really have my thought process out loud. So it's really something that, you know, he owns.
No, that's very true. So what's also interesting is he credits himself with helping save the Jocelyn Castle. So we'll see, you know, what else he'd like to. I mean, what else he's going to do for Omaha when his time comes, if he is elected mayor, because he says he wants to help establish a lot more history in Omaha by saving a lot of the old buildings.
And we'll have more on the Brad Ashford campaign when we come back from this break.
Well then.
Okay, how do we...
wasn't right.
Were they lying to the public?
There was a bigger story here than just a plane crash.
It's become the symbol of everything that's wrong with the industry.
My kid got 6 vaccines in one day and he regressed.
Not only are those children who aren't vaccinated at risk, but those who can't be vaccinated are at risk.
Nobody really knew what was going on. What was it in this market that had to be hidden?
I spent millions of dollars in cash, bribing government officials.
People in power do not like the investigation to come too close to them.
You never hear these stories.
Tuesdays on NET1.
UNO TV invites you to take a journey around the world, to lush jungles with endangered species, to exotic lands and different cultures, to lost cities beneath the sands. Travel through time to see ancient secrets on the other side of the world, the growth of the American West, or the start of Nebraska's largest city, or just explore our state. Find out about Nebraska in World War II. Learn how Omaha has grown since. Discover the effort to renovate its green spaces, the history of one of its most impressive buildings, or look at its internationally recognized university. For over 20 years, UNO TV has produced award-winning documentaries that explore, educate, and enlighten. To find out more, call 402-554-2516 or visit unotv.unomaha.edu.
This is the Omaha News Vote 2013 from the UNO School of Communication.
Welcome back. We have reporters at all of the campaign locations this evening. We just spoke with Katie Wagner, who is live at the Jim Suttle campaign, and I know that we are going to be going through a few more of our campaign events as well.
Yep. Our reporter Jiajin Liu is with the Brad Ashford campaign. She joins us now. Jiajin?
Thanks, Marie. I'm live at the Brad Ashford campaign. The event starts at 8 and people just start arriving. State Senator Ashford is with his family and team right now, and he's going to make a speech when there are more people here. Ashford has spent 15 years in the legislature. He's a member of the Nebraska Unicameral representing District 20. He was first elected to the legislature in 1986, serving Nebraska's state legislative district. And he was re-elected in 1990 and again in 2006. Also, Ashford has given 3 decades of service to the community and state, including 2 stints in the legislature, service on the state labor court with the Omaha Housing Authority and on the Metropolitan Convention and Entertainment Authority Board. Ashford is the only independent among the 5 candidates. Actually, he has been both a Democrat and a Republican in his history. But in 2011, he left the Republican Party and decided to be an independent. He thinks the best way to govern is from the center. Reporting live from the Brett Ashford campaign for the Omaha News, I'm Jasmine Liu.
Thanks, Jiajin. We've actually had quite a bit of mudslinging this election, and a lot of it has been directed at Jean Stothert, and a lot of it has been based on her gender. And one of the offenses was actually a T-shirt which depicted Stothert as a pole dancer or a stripper with a quote saying, "Jean, quit stripping us of our tax dollars."
Yeah, but it's definitely another smear campaign. I mean, it's been a campaign of highs and lows for City Councilwoman Jean Stothert. We have Ernest Powell at her campaign tonight. Ernest?
Thanks, Lauren. I am at the Jean Stothert campaign, and when the earlier votes came out, the crowd went absolutely bananas. They had Jean Stothert ahead of Mayor Stothert and her campaigns early with the voting. But also a second eruption happened when U.S. Senator Deb Fischer walked in the building to show her support for Jean Stothert and her campaign. Deb Fischer said that Jean Stothert is the best candidate to lead Omaha the next 4 years because of her conservative values and the plans that she has in place to lead Omaha into the future. Jean Stothert arrived here at her campaign rally a little bit after 7 o'clock tonight. The campaign has spent about $500,000 on the campaign to get her message out there, plus has picked up an endorsement by the Omaha World Herald. Jean Stothert is campaigned on lowering property taxes as well as eliminating the restaurant tax. Live from the Jean Stothert campaign for the Omaha News, I'm Ernest Powell.
Thanks, Ernest. So next we have Dan Welch, and Dan Welch is the youngest person running for mayoral candidate, but in his campaign, he talks a lot about his time when he was city council president working with Mike Fahey, because Dan Welch is a Republican and Mike Fahey was a Democrat, and how they worked well together. So Dan Welch was actually against Mayor Mike Fahey's spending cuts to city employees to make up for the $10 million deficit.
Well, that's definitely a good point, Lauren. And we actually have Jared Meyer at the Dan Welch campaign. Jared?
Hi, I'm currently sitting here at the Marriott Hotel in Regency on 102nd and Regency, where Dan was in earlier, a little bit before 8 o'clock, greeting his supporters and voters. And then right at 8 o'clock, as the results started coming in, he went into a separate holding room. And but later on, after all the votes are in, he'll come out and address the supporters. But yeah, he's currently sitting in 5th place right now. And Dan, you might have heard his name before. He served for the Southwest Omaha District 5 on the Omaha City Council for 8 years, and was actually president of the Omaha City Council from 2005 to 2009. So being on the City Council, he knows and recognizes the issues in the city, and he believes in a slogan which you might have seen from the ad commercials, One Omaha. It takes one city to solve these issues, and Welch's issues right now that he wants to focus on, if elected, is public safety, of course, the crime, specifically in North Omaha. The second issue is to rebuild the sewer overflow that's going on right now in the city. And then the third and final issue that he'd really love to focus on is the police and fire pension reform. So yeah, reporting live here from the Marriott Hotel at Regency for the Omaha News, I'm Jared Meyer.
Thanks, Jared. We also have Dave Nabity, who is a business leader and financial consultant, and he really thinks that experience and involvement in business is what gives him a lead over other candidates.
Yeah, he really does. He really thinks that, not having so much of a political background will actually help him if he were to become mayor of Omaha. But right now, we have a reporter, Brandon Mosley, live at the Dave Nabity campaign. Brandon?
Hi, I'm here with Dave Nabity campaign. And the energy in the room is high right now. The jazz band is playing, and the people are greeting each other. And Mr. Nabity is walking around thanking everybody that came out tonight. I'm here live with Dave Nabity. Mr. Nabity, how do you feel about the way the race is going so far?
Well, the votes are in early now, and I'm in 3rd place, and I feel pretty good about it because I got to be in 2nd place. And as the votes go west and you have the voters that are voting after work, I think it's going to turn around for us.
For an incumbent that had let's say, a disadvantage in this race, do you think you'll come out on top with the uphill battle?
Well, when you're talking about me not being an incumbent, is that what you mean? Yeah. Me not being an incumbent, of course, it's really hard because you haven't been elected to anything and you're not a household name. So we had the farthest distance to go. So right now, we're in it. We're still in it, especially as the night goes on. So we'll just have to evaluate when the next two reports come out.
Thank you. Reporting live from the Napanee campaign for the Omaha News, I'm Brandon Moses.
Thank you, Brandon. Hal Daub is a former congressman for the 1st District, served 2 terms as Omaha's mayor, and is current member of the University of Nebraska's Board of Regents. He is our guest here tonight. Hal, thanks for being with us.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here. I've had a sort of a UNO campus day. I had the chance to be with your student government and their swearing in of your member of the Board of Regents at noon today, and taught a class of senior management and sales at the Mammal School at the College of Business, and then went to the Executive MBA program, and now I'm with you, so it's been a UNO day for me.
Oh, that's great. It's a great campus to be at. So, though Mayor Suttle won the election, why was, back in 2009, why was there a recall?
Well, I've decided a long time ago that since he won that election, I really wouldn't comment much about it, because I think my comments might be misunderstood. He did want the job, and he ran a campaign, and he won it, and he's been mayor now, and he faces quite a challenge tonight, as you can see from the early returns. I'm not sure they tell much yet, but I am struck by the difference between Councilwoman Stothert and 3rd place. So while they may be putting some stock in the history of the early returns that favored me 4 years ago, with all due respect, I think that they're a little bit more of a spread and a little less of a turnout. So I think this next count at 9 o'clock, which will have the absentee ballots, will give us a very good idea about where this race is headed tonight.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit more about the background of, what was the situation like when Jim Suttle, became mayor? Because I think the difference between how Omaha was then and now is important for voters to know.
Again, it's hard for me to comment because I think that we had a great team while I was privileged to serve as mayor of this great city, and I think that we accomplished a great deal. And I think you'd look back today and ask yourself, what would Omaha be like without the CenturyLink Center? What would Omaha be like without the West Dodge Freeway, without the Stockyards project, without all the development in North Omaha and downtown on the riverfront? So I think I'd leave it to say that I inherited a number of projects from former Mayor Morgan, and took it upon myself not to complain about or blame somebody else, but to do the job I ran for. And I left a pretty full menu for Jim Suttle to undertake to do. And I think that the reason for the recall and the reason for so many good candidates being in this race is because there's a significant amount of disagreement with whether he's accomplished much or not.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, when you're mayor, you have to work well with your city council. Do you feel that our current mayor has done a good job of working with the city council?
I don't follow that so much, but I do know something is very important. I think all too much is made out of contention. Progress is born of controversy. And there's nothing wrong with good, healthy debate and good, healthy disagreement, as long as it's respectful. And that may not always be the case from time to time, but I don't put much stock in this argument too often made about civility in City Hall. I think that's a trumped-up issue of some candidates just trying to look for attention.
Well, you say that progress can come from controversy, but do you think that because 2 of the mayoral candidates are from city council, that maybe there won't be enough controversy if they become mayors because, they might have better cooperation with the city council?
Jim Suttle is the first city councilman, a sitting city councilman, that has ever been elected mayor in the history of the Home Rule Charter, some 50 years of the city of Omaha. So it is rare that you could look at experience on the city council to put you into mayor's position without having other attributes. In this case, for example, Gene Stothert had held a number of elections and re-elections on school board, and had a lot more experience than even I did when I had the chance to serve as mayor.
And so far, the numbers that we've seen, Gene Stothert is actually looking to be making it to the general election. Did that come as a surprise to you?
No, I've always predicted that Councilwoman Stothert and or Senator Brad Ashford, not only one of them would finish in the top 2, but because of a lot of the controversial negative campaigning that Omahans just don't appreciate, I quite honestly felt that it was really possible that one of them could actually get more votes than the mayor.
Now, you say, there's been some negative campaigning, and a lot of that, I have to say, has probably been because of the police and fire, union contracts. I mean, there's controversies about how to handle it. Do you feel that there is a good solution, and do any of the mayoral candidates have a good solution?
There is a good solution. We didn't have this problem when I was privileged to be mayor. I left office. There was a surplus in the pension fund. We were actuarially sound for 75 years. We didn't have spiking and all these things that have come in contracts after I left the office. Mm-hmm. So returning to the sound and fundamental pension management idea that you just can't pay these kinds of pensions, mm-hmm. that if you want to be a police officer or a firefighter, it's good pay and good retirement and good health benefits, but the overly generous pensions that have been negotiated and allowed by the last 10 years of management of the city really need to be corrected. If we don't do that, a number of the young officers, firefighters, and police officers are not going to have a very sound pension after a career with Omaha. We have a good fire department, a very good police department, and we have basically ruined the opportunity for a lot of future firefighters and future police officers because we have given them a false impression about how rich and generous, overly rich and overly generous the pension plans are. But that's not the problem. Mm-hmm. It's that they're not funded. Mm-hmm. There's no money there, and that's the responsibility of the mayor and the city council to fix that problem, and there's been too much talk. There are good answers to it, and I think that several of the candidates are talking about them. I think we'll hear more specifics in the general election mm-hmm. when we've narrowed the field down to 2 and we can hear more specifically what each of them plan to do about it.
Well, so obviously police and fire union contracts are a big issue this election. Now, whoever is next elected mayor, what are some of the issues they're going to need to tackle right away once they come into office?
I think the most serious problem we have facing the city of Omaha is our crime, and the crime is not just isolated to one particular part of our city. It's all over the city of Omaha, and I think we need a lot tougher attitude with respect to the executive mm-hmm. management of public safety. Public safety is not just the police department. Mm-hmm. Public safety has to do with how we maintain our parks, how we care for the condition of our streets. There are a lot of different elements of public safety, and I think they've been neglected for far too long.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Stay tuned tonight. It's going to be a very interesting evening. It's certainly not over.
Yeah, and we'll have more after the break.
Thanks, Lauren. When we come back, we'll have another look at the numbers.
The University of Nebraska at Omaha is a place for tomorrow's leaders, a place where individuals converge on a path to success, getting the attention and direction they need as they begin their career. It's where students take pride in serving Omaha, a city we've invested in for more than 100 years. UNO is a place where greatness begins. The University of Nebraska at Omaha.
NET Television expands your mind, enlightens your mind, inspires your mind, educates your mind, entertains your mind. NET Television opens up new worlds to you. Explore, travel, learn, discuss, debate. NET Television keeps you informed. Music, theater, dance, art, news. NET Television awakens your dreams, seeks to serve, strengthens our communities. We are Nebraskans. We are NET Television, Nebraska's PBS station.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Vehicles now going supersonic.
When you want to go above,
it was something new,
or reach beyond.
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
When you want to peer inside.
There's something wrong here. This isn't normal.
It would seem almost impossible, or push the limit.
Large tornado! It's humongous! We need to get out now!
When you want to dive deep.
These divers are like astronauts.
Our human nature is to push into places that we don't know about.
Or go to the edge.
There are other worlds out there.
We don't know exactly what we're going to find.
When you want to find new frontiers.
I was truly astonished.
You just don't ever know.
Nova.
Wednesdays on NET1.
UNO Television gives students a chance to work in a real studio. Working on the TV crew, students get hands-on experience with lights, camera, and action. Working on a variety of shows gives students a leg up looking for jobs. In fact, many former crew members work at local stations. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for students to learn the science and art of TV production. UNO TV, student crew, professional staff, award-winning results.
Welcome back to our election special. And we actually have numbers from Kevin Grace. He's in the newsroom. Kevin?
Hey, thanks a lot, Marie and Lauren. Yeah, I just want to update you guys. We just got our second round of numbers in, the 8:45 numbers. As all the polls are closed, and they're counting more and more of the votes. They just released some fresh numbers. Here they are. In the lead still, we have Jean Stothert, who's built her lead. Councilwoman Jean Stothert is up now over the next closest candidate, which is Jim Suttle at 7,000 votes. Next, we've got Dave Nabity. He's grabbed 4,728 votes. Brad Ashford was right behind him with 3,642. Dan Welch is right there too with 3,436. So all in all, it is just getting real close here. It's kind of the race for number two, right behind Jean Stothert looking like now. We'll keep you updated as the night goes on. Here's Tasia.
Thanks, Kevin. We do have some updated numbers for the Omaha City Council as well. Pete Festerson still in the lead with 2,923 votes. Ed Schrumper, 1,546. They will both advance to the general election. In District 2, we have Ben Gray still in the lead with 712 votes. Tariq Almin with 454. Bruce Hunter with 356. Timothy Ashford with 303. And Dennis Womack with 153. In District 3, we have Chris Durham with 1,859 votes, who's still in the lead, and J.R. Jasso with 1,017 votes. Both will move on to the general election. In District 4, we have Gary Gernand with 1,394 votes, Virgil Patlin Sr. with 642, and Jacob Perazzo with 172 votes. In District 5, we have Rich Pauls with 2,826 votes and Jeff Moore with 1,797 votes. Both will advance to the general election. In District 6, we have Franklin Thompson with 3,805 votes and Phil Klein with 2,454 votes. Both will advance to the general election. And in District 7, we have Amy Melton still in the lead, 1,828 votes. It is a little closer now. Tim Lonergan with 1,208 votes. Thomas Mulligan with 1,022 votes. Don Krupa with 316. And Cameron Gales with 176 votes. Back to you, Marie.
Thanks, Tasia. Again, I'm here with political expert Dr. Paul Landau. Thank you again for joining us. And I guess there's just a really big upset with the city council numbers?
Well, it looks that way. One of the incumbents is in third place. That would be Thomas Mulligan, who is in third place to an attorney and kind of a perennial candidate, Mr. Lonergan.
And I know in researching this, a lot of people have been saying, what is the point of city council? I just don't understand. They'll go to vote for mayor, but maybe leave some places blank. What is the function of city council and why is it so important?
Well, the city council actually is to the city of Omaha what Congress is to the United States government. It's the legislative branch of the city, and it's laid out in the charter. Omaha has two branches, the executive and the legislative, as opposed to three at the federal level. But city council actually is in charge of the budget making function of the city. The mayor proposes the budget, but the council ratifies it and has the ability to change it. So it's quite an important job.
And so the relationship between the mayor and the city council is really important, you would say?
I would say it's important. Sometimes it's not so good, but it would be nice if it was better most of the time. It's a difficult relationship. They used to say that there are 7 members of the city council. 3 of them want to be mayor, and 4 of them already think they are. So it's a tough relationship.
Sure. And in terms of the mayoral race at this point, are there any numbers that are coming out as a surprise to you right now?
Well, Councilwoman Stothard is opening up a bigger lead. The most recent set of numbers show her ahead by roughly 3,000, and the first set had her ahead by roughly 2,000. So she's certainly not retreating, and if she winds up beating the incumbent mayor in the primary, that will be quite an upset.
And I know Stothard was really influential in changing the labor contract agreements from negotiation power for the mayor to the city council. And how do you think that affected the race?
Well, I think that people thought she generally did a good job with the contracts, and they thought that being willing to take it on took guts. And it came out pretty well. The contracts, from many people's viewpoint, still could be improved, but they're good contracts. They've got to be fair to the employees as well as the taxpayer. And she did a good job with it. I think people generally think that she's been a good member of the city council. And don't forget, she had a strong West Omaha base from so many years on the Millard School Board.
Definitely. And do you think that Suttle's new stance or recently announced stance on gun control may have affected the numbers that he's seeing tonight?
I think it may have, and I don't think it helped him. This is a part of the country where guns are important to people, and gun ownership and gun rights matter to many people. It was a risk going on the air with that gun control ad, and it may not have worked out the way he wanted it to.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again, Dr. Paul Landau. We'll keep checking in with you throughout the night as we get more numbers in. And thank you again.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Marie. Reporter Paul Dobler is at the Douglas County General Commissioner's office, sitting at 115th and Dodge, and he brings us up to date. Paul?
Thanks, Lauren and Marie. I'm currently outside in the parking lot here of the Commissioner's office, and where the police have the street blocked off, and there's 2 lanes of cars delivering all of the ballots from the voters today. There's a lot of volunteers out here helping, as well as the Boy Scouts and many other kids that are getting the information, those ballots, from the cars and trucks and everything, and running those inside to the volunteers where the ballots are going to be cast. I know in last year's general election there were some issues with polling places and ballots and things like that, but tonight everything seems to be running pretty smooth. It doesn't look like we're going to be having any issues tonight. Reporting live from the Douglas County Commissioner's office for the Omaha News, this is Paul Dobler.
Thanks, Paul. Now, Lauren, there has been just a really low number of voters today, and like we said before, Dave Phipps was saying that 18% of voters are supposed to show up at the polls today, and they weren't even sure they made that number.
You know, they probably didn't, but what's interesting with such a low number, it wouldn't take much to sway the vote. I mean, Gene Stoddard is, in the lead, and it's actually by quite a bit of lead, but it would only take a couple hundred to bring anyone up higher up in the polls.
And speaking of that, we actually have Jia-Jin Liu live at the Brad Ashford campaign. We're going to check in with Jia-Jin. Jia-Jin, are you there?
Yes, Lauren. Thanks, Lauren. I'm here with Senator Ashford. How are you, Ashford? Senator Ashford?
How am I? What am I supposed to do? Just talk to her? Hello? I don't...
Senator Ashford. Excuse me. Senator Ashford, how are you feeling about your chance of winning?
Well, right now we're not doing very well, but we'll keep looking at the results.
What do you think the people of Omaha are looking for in the mayor?
Well, it's hard to say. You have to analyze the results when it's over, and it's hard to say. I really don't know what they're looking for at this point.
So what is your vision for Omaha if you become mayor?
Well, I think we have to see who wins tonight, and then. But our vision always has been about bringing people together collaboratively to work on issues for the next 25 years, and that hasn't changed. I think I have a responsibility in the legislature as one of the senior members to move our vision of juvenile justice forward, and that's going to be my if this doesn't work out tonight, we're going to continue to plug ahead on juvenile justice and make things better for young kids. That's my goal right now.
Thanks, Senator Ashford. I'm live at Brett Ashford campaign for the Omaha News. I'm Dustin Blue.
Thanks, Jajan. We actually have Kelly Schultz up in the newsroom with OPS election results. Kelly?
Thank you, Marie. In District 1, James English is still in the lead with 480 votes. Yolanda Williams is following with 400 votes. LaDonna White York with 358. Larry Taylor with 244. And Aja Anderson with 136. In District 2, Neokia Stewart is leading with 375. Mark Snow with 364. And Morgan Price with 319. In District 3, OPS School Board President Marion Fay is still in the lead with 1,167 votes. Woody Bradford is following with 1,046. Bambi Bartek with 219. Michael Warner with 207. And Bill Hoff with 129. In District 4, incumbent Justin Wayne is in the lead with 849 votes. Jill Brown with 800. Eric Ewing with 397. In District 5, Lou Ann Goding is in the lead with 514 votes. Jennifer T. Kirschenbaum with 484 votes. Jeff Miller with 373. Scott Zimmerman with 108. And Nikki Diamantis with 77 votes. In District 6, Nancy Kratke is in the lead with 1,350 votes. Matt Scanlon is following with 1,214 votes. Barbara Doughton with 775, and Joseph Misiones with 145. In District 7, Katie Underwood is in the lead with 1,159. Andy Allen is following with 543. Danielle Barada is trailing with 486. In District 8, Lacey Merica is in the lead with 157. Meg Cordes with 122, William Forsey with 121, Juliana Garza and Eugene Hoffman are tied with 112 votes, and Mark Wallens with 102. In District 9, Rebecca Barrientos Patlin is in the lead with 390 votes, Sarah Brumfield following with 312, William Gahn with 238, and Brian Villaforte with 103. And we'll try to keep you up to date with more numbers, and back to you.
Thanks, Kelly. And this is an interesting race because this wasn't quite anticipated. Omaha Public School Board, it came up all of a sudden that they'd have to have a re-election once they dwindle the districts from 12 down to 9. But it's especially interesting for Marianne Fay. And that's because she only became Omaha Public School Board president once Freddie Gray had stepped down this past summer during, a huge scandal that everyone knows about. But when we come back, we'll have another look at the numbers, and this is the Omaha News Vote 2012.
PBS is the place you should go first.
There are no advertisers to be satisfied, only an audience to be satisfied.
We take our responsibility as journalists very seriously. We are constantly thinking about our viewers and what they care about.
We want to let you know what the information is, and then you decide what you want to think.
At the NewsHour, we are after the facts and only the facts.
KVNO was in a really interesting place. This Victorian mansion near UNO.
3 floors. The studios were on the 3rd floor.
Bedrooms and bathrooms. So we had a challenge, but we ultimately ended up with an on-air studio.
We soundproofed it with carpet, and actually I think it sounded really warm, very radio friendly.
There were also rumors that the 3rd floor was haunted. Those were the maids' chambers, as we were told.
I had a sink in the office and leaded glass windows which looked out on the stable house in the back.
One colleague talking about having the window open one day, a warm spring or fall day, and a squirrel jumping through the window onto a turntable.
It was a great place, a great ambiance for a fine arts station.
It definitely had a charm to it.
UNO Television gives students a chance to work in a real studio. Working on the TV crew, students get hands-on experience with lights, camera, and action. Working on a variety of shows gives students a leg up looking for jobs. In fact, many former crew members work at local stations. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for students to learn the science and art of TV production. UNO TV, student crew, professional staff, award-winning results. From the studios of UNO Television, this is the Omaha News Vote 2013, the Omaha primary election presented by the University of Nebraska-Omaha School of Communication.
Welcome back to Omaha News Vote 2013. Now, Mayor Jim Settle is not doing as well in the mayoral election race as he had predicted. We have with us now Katie Wagner live at the Jim Settle campaign. Katie?
Thanks, Lauren. I'm standing here with Jim Settle at the campaign. Mayor, how are you doing?
You know, I'm doing fine. Tomorrow's another day, and we got 6 weeks of heavy campaigning, and we're down to 2 people.
How do you feel? What's going on right now in your mind?
Well, I think we have the right results for the city, and we need to get our messaging to the people, and we also now need the people to decide on which vision they want.
How do you plan to do that?
Well, that's what the game plan is in place, and if I told you, then everybody else would know.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Thank you.
Reporting live from the Jim campaign, I'm Katie Wagner for the Omaha News.
Go.
Thanks, Katie. We actually have Ernest Powell live at the Stothert campaign, and we want to go ahead and toss to Ernest. Ernest is live at the Gene Stothert campaign. Ernest?
Thanks, Marie. Marie, I am out here at the Gene Stothert campaign, and I can tell you right now, it is definitely like a party atmosphere right now. The 2 numbers have been released, and every time the numbers have been released, even the old numbers have been released, everybody is going and crazy out here right now. We got U.S. Senator Deb Fischer out here walking around, shaking hands, and she says, along with the Gene Stothert supporters, that she believes that Gene Stothert's principles and values can put Omaha back to where it needs to be, especially dealing with the financial issues that the city does have, including the police and fire contracts. Gene Stothert's been campaigning about putting more police on the street, stiffer penalty for gang violence, and she wants to fix neighborhoods, return neighborhoods back to the neighborhood values right now. Gene Stothert is expected to speak to her supporters around 9:30ish or so we'll definitely keep you in tune. Reporting from the Gene Stothert campaign for the Omaha News, I'm Ernest Powell.
Thanks, Ernest. And what's interesting is that Gene Stothert is doing a lot better than had been predicted at the very beginning of the mayoral race. She's actually, I'm pretty sure, at the top of the race right now. But, you know, it had been another smear campaign for Stothert. Flyers had been distributed from an anonymous store stating that she was going to use taxpayer dollars to fund abortions, which was really bad because she is very pro-life and, you know, very outspoken about that. But right now, we have Jared Meyer live at the Dan Welch campaign. Jared? Oh, I apologize. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. But as we were saying about Stothert had denied those claims, and you know she calls the distributors nameless, faceless, cowards, and that should not be a part of our political process. And you know, you were talking to Paul Landau earlier, and what did he say about this smear campaign for Jean?
He felt that it really brought her into the light a little bit, gave her some more publicity. And what was interesting is that she tried to really blame it actually on Nabity and Welch, saying that they were behind the attack. So the smear campaign may not be as nameless as she says, but we don't know whether those accusations are even valid. We actually have Brandon Mosley live, and he is at the Dave Nabity campaign. Brandon?
Yes, hi. As of now, Nabity is still happy with the way the results are. He said not all the votes are in, but everything is upbeat, and he's just waiting for all the results to come in before he has anything else to say. Everybody in the room is happy with the results as of now. The band is playing. People are starting to dance. And reporting live from the National Campaign for the Omaha News, I'm Brandon Moses.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon, for reporting. Now we have with us Jared at the Dan Welch campaign. Jared? He didn't hear. All right. I apologize. Jared is live at the Dan Welch campaign. Jared?
Hi, yeah, Jared Meyer here reporting live from the Marriott Hotel in Regency on 102nd and Regency. And the party has really started to fill in here as supporters are gathering around, conversing with each other, having a few drinks as well. Currently, Dan sits with 12% of the votes right now, sitting in 5th place. But supporters are still here having a good time, despite the placement that he's at right now. Around 8:50ish, Dan actually came into the conference room, and right as he stepped into the room, just cheers and cheers from the supporters. People started clapping, and then he went around shaking the hands of the supporter and started to thank them. But yeah, I mean, he seems to be pretty relaxed at the moment. He was going around with the supporters, even had a few laughs with them, smiling. So it looks like he's pretty positive right now with the outcome, as the supporters are just waiting for the 9:30 results to come in. Reporting live from the Marriott Hotel, this is Jared Meyer for the Omaha News.
Thanks, Jared. Actually, Dan Welch was against Mayor Mike Fahey's spending cuts to city employees, and there was a $10 million deficit that Fahey was trying to address at that time, and was trying to address that in the contracts. And Dan Welch feels that the contracts need to be modified drastically. And although they have, according to Settle, been a lot better lately, Welch says it just needs to get way better.
Oh, that's very true. And coming up after the break, we'll have more on the numbers and more from our reporters live at the mayoral campaigns. You're watching the Omaha News Vote 2013.
You've always known you were a leader, someone who works hard to achieve your goals. You can see it. You can see your success in front of you. You pursue a college education for the old-fashioned reasons, to learn, to make yourself more valuable, to succeed. You need a place that celebrates your ambition and positions you alongside visionary people just like you. You, my friend, belong here, the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Something wasn't right.
Were they lying to the public?
There was a bigger story here than just a plane crash.
It's become the symbol of everything that's wrong with the industry.
My kid got 6 vaccines in one day and he regressed.
Not only are those children who aren't vaccinated at risk, but those who can't be vaccinated are at risk.
Nobody really knew what was going on. What was it in this market that had to be hidden?
I spent millions of dollars in cash, bribing government officials.
People in power do not like the investigation to come too close to them.
You never hear these stories.
Tuesdays on NET1.
Watch the Omaha News Wednesdays at 4 p.m. on the Knowledge Network.
Most local television news only gives you brief headlines about issues that may be important to you. But for more than 10 years, only one program has remained dedicated to examining all the information about issues that really matter to Nebraskans. I'm Kathy Wyatt, and it's my privilege to present those issues for your consideration. Join me on the campus of UNO in a program we call Consider This, every week on NET1.
Welcome back. We're actually looking at a lot of numbers this evening. We started out with 5 viable candidates, and it looks like we've almost narrowed it down to 2 with Gene Stothert and Mayor Jim Suttle. And I've been wondering whether this had anything to do with the violence in the area. People really want gun control, violence, those types of things addressed. Mm-hmm. And Suttle actually had that campaign with the gun control, and that may have affected his numbers, and which is why we see a peak with Stothert in comparison with Jim Suttle.
Yeah, no, it's very true, and he was probably the only one that had such a controlling view on what to do with guns. Most of the other mayoral candidates said to address the crime problem, we need to have more police on the street. We need to address, truancy in the schools and gang violence at a young age, help prevent crime rather than just head it straight on now. And, what's also interesting is that, people are asking, saying that maybe we do need police on the force, but Dave Nabity in his campaign was saying that maybe we should actually have an audit of all the city government and of the police and fire to see, how effective they really are.
And I think this is especially true, Lauren, when we look at recent events where there was that very violent arrest that was posted on YouTube. It just really highlights some of the major issues in the campaign, what people are really looking for in a mayor, and whether the candidates are really going to come up to the plate and be there for them, and maybe an auditor would be something, to address that.
Yeah, especially with the budget issues that Omaha possibly faces, especially with trying to pay for the police union contracts. What's interesting is that the police chief actually endorsed Gene Stothert for, as a mayoral candidate, even though it was Mayor Suttle that helped settle the police union contracts.
And we talked about earlier how the negotiating power was taken from Suttle and redistributed to the city council. And they, as we talked with Paul Landau earlier, he said that people really felt that Stothert did a really good job in negotiating further contracts. So that may have really been something people took to the polls with him today.
It might have been. And upstairs in the newsroom, we have Kevin reviewing the latest numbers. Kevin?
Thanks, guys. And I just want to touch on that really quick. We were talking about the Suttle's ability to negotiate with the city contracts. And it seems, as you guys were saying, that all the candidates believe that the mayor should have the power to do that. Yet it is interesting, Stothert in the lead was the one who took that power away from Mayor Suttle a couple of years back. Another interesting thing I'm following here is, as we wait for more votes for an updated vote count, is the amount of money the two frontrunners have spent per vote so far. So far with the numbers that are out at 8:45, it looks like Jim Suttle is spending about $92 per vote. And again, that number will drop as more votes come in. But that's compared to Gene Stothert, the frontrunner, at just $41 a vote. So it's an interesting insight on what these candidates are doing and how much money they're really putting out there for marketing. And another fun piece of trivia to look at, watching social media tonight, I've noticed there's a little bit of a game going on between some voters, between Maura DeLuca and Mort Sullivan on who's going to win or who won't lose, I guess is the contest or the game going on there. So some fun stuff to watch and interesting stuff here as far as the mayoral candidates are concerned. Once again, we're going to look at those numbers from the 8:45 count. You see that Gene Stothert has a comfortable lead there at over 10,000 votes, and Jim Suttle was set just over 7,000. But again, watching the social media, something you'll want to look at is Maura DeLuca and Mort Sullivan. It's neck and neck there for who won't lose. So we'll toss it over to Tasia here for the City Council.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah. Okay, so some interesting information with the Omaha City Council races. All 7 city council districts are up for election, but there's really only 3, well 2 actually, that have more than just 2 candidates. We have District 2 that has 5 candidates, and then District 7 also has 5 candidates. So those are really going to be the races to watch and kind of keep track of. You can just go back over the current numbers that we have, or the last number count that we have gotten. Pete Festerson is still in the lead, District 1 with 2,923 votes, and then Untrooper with 1,546, and they will both advance to the general election. In District 2, it's still Ben Gray with 712 votes, and then next Tariq Alman, then Bruce Hunter, and then Timothy Ashford, and Dennis Womack. In District 3, it's Chris Jerem with 1,859 in the lead as well. J.R. Jasso with 1,017 votes. District 4, it's still Gary Grenand with 1,394 votes. Next, Virgil Patlin Sr. with 642, and Jacob Perazzo with 172. In District 5, the current leader is still Rich Pauls with 2,826 votes, and Jeff Moore with 1,797 votes. They will both advance to the general election. District 6, Franklin Thompson is still in the lead with 3,805 votes. Phil Klein has 2,454. Again, since there's only 2, they will both advance to the general election, which is May 14th. And in District 7, the current leader is still Amy Melton with 1,828, Tim Lonergan with 1,208, Thomas Mulligan with 1,022, Don Krupa with 316, and Cameron Gales with 176. And that district, District 7, seems to be the closest. I mean, those last 3, well, the first 3 people, I guess. I mean, those are really close numbers. So that's one to keep an eye out for. So back to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasia. I'm here with political expert Dr. Paul Landau, and welcome back.
Thank you.
And it seems that Stothert and Settle are pretty much the clear choices for mayor. What is the difference in their governing philosophies?
Well, first of all, one's a Republican and one's a Democrat, so there are some obvious differences there in terms of their political philosophies as it relates to government and the role of government in society. I think you would say that Councilwoman Stothert is running on a platform that is more austere than Mayor Settle, and is particularly attacking all of the tax increases. He's raised quite a number of taxes. He said he needed to do it to right the city's financial ship. And Ms. Stothert seems to think that they weren't necessary, and in fact is even committed to roll some of them back. So I think that one thing we're going to see for sure in the coming general election is a battle over taxes, what role taxes play, whether they should be reduced or left as is.
And I know some of the taxes that they were going to address were the restaurant and wheel taxes. They're not very popular taxes. Do you think that really affected how people voted today?
Well, I do. I think that there were a number of people that were upset with Mayor Settle because he's raised taxes a number of times, and it's just that simple. I mean, it is entirely possible that he needed to raise taxes, and he says he did, and that could well be. But the fact remains that people don't like tax increases, and people generally take out their frustration on the tax raiser, and I think they did in this case.
And I know Jean has been very critical of Jim Settle's how he addressed the contracts, the union contracts. She's called them overly generous, politically driven. Those are pretty charged statements. What do you think she means by those?
Well, I think that what she's trying to say is that the benefits are too generous. But I think what she forgets is that union contracts are negotiated over many, many years. And these contracts in place now have been negotiated over 30 or 40 years. So the fact of the matter is that once a union negotiates a benefit, they will never give it up unless they get something in return. So to just simply say, well, we're going to reduce this and reduce that in the contract is frankly not possible, because everything has to be negotiated. So I think that there's a little bit of rhetorical license being taken on all sides here, but in the end you have to have a contract that's fair and reasonable to both the taxpayer and the city employee, and that's a good contract.
That's a good point. I really appreciate you joining us again. I'm sure we'll hear back from you in a little while. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marie. Now, upstairs, Kelly's has the latest numbers concerning the Omaha Public School Board district race. Kelly?
Thank you, Lauren. We actually won't have numbers quite till 9:45, but an interesting fact about the OPS school board race is that it was rather unexpected by many Omaha voters. Back in November, 6 school board members were elected in the general election and were surprised last month, or in February, when they were told that they would have to be re-elected if they wanted to keep their seats. As a result, only 5 of the current 12 school board members are running for re-election, and we have several non-incumbents running for the new districts. What was originally 12 districts was redistricted. The lines were redrawn in LB 125, recently passed in February, which cut 3 school board seats. Just to recap on the numbers, in District 1 we have James English and Yolanda Williams in the lead with 480 and 400 votes. In District 2, Neokia Stewart with 375, Mark Snow with 364, and Morgan Price with 319. In District 3, Marion Fay is in the lead with 1,167, Woody Bradford following with 1,446, Bambi Bartek with 219, Michael Warner with 207, and Bill Hoff with 129. In District 4, Justin Wayne is in the lead with 849, Jill Brown following with 800 votes, Eric Ewing with 397. In District 5, Lou Ann Goding is in the lead with 514, Jennifer T. Kirschenbaum following with 484, Jeff Miller with 373, Scott Zimmerman with 108, Nikki Diamantis with 77, and Angel Martin with 48. In District 6, Nancy Kratke, the incumbent in that district, is leading with 1,350. Matt Scanlon is following with 1,214. Barbara Doughton with 775, and Joseph Misiunas with 145. In District 7, Katie Underwood is in the lead with 1,159, Andy Allen following with 543, Danielle Barada with 486. In District 8, Lacey Merica is in the lead with 157, Meg Cordes is following with 122, William Forsey with 121. Juliana Garza and Eugene Hoffman are still tied with 112, and Mark Wallens with 102. District 9, Rebecca Barrientos Patlin is in the lead with 390. Sarah Brumfield, the incumbent of that district, is following with 312 votes. William Gahn with 238, and Brian Villafuerte with 103. And back to you, Lauren and Marie.
Thanks, Kelly. Now, what's interesting about this Omaha Public School Board race is that Marion Fay became school board president when Freddie Gray stepped down, but when the districts became redistricted and reduced to 9, she ended up having to race another incumbent, the incumbent from a former district. So that's got to be a little bit tough to have to run against someone you served on the Omaha Public School Board with.
Definitely. It's been a great race all the way around. I know we have Paul Dobler live at the Douglas County Election Commissioner's office. Paul?
Lauren and Marie. I'm out in the parking lot again here at the Commissioner's office where the street is cleared. As I've followed up a little bit here with Valerie Stoy again, and it looks like all 186 precincts are in. So there are volunteers back here tabulating the votes. For the total race, there's 274,321 eligible voters, and at this point, only 30,211 votes have been counted, and that's only about 11% of the eligible voters with their votes in now. So everything here seems to have run smoothly. So everyone's kind of clearing out now at this point. The volunteers are being sent home, and everything seems to be going well here. Reporting live from the Douglas Commissioner Election Office for the Omaha News, this is Paul Dobler.
Thanks, Paul. It'll be interesting to see how all the numbers turn out once they're all tallied. You're watching the Omaha News Vote 2013.
The University of Nebraska at Omaha is a place for tomorrow's leaders, a place where individuals converge on a path to success, getting the attention and direction they need as they begin their career. It's where students take pride in serving Omaha, a city we've invested in for more than 100 years. UNO is a place where greatness begins. The University of Nebraska at Omaha.
NET Television expands your mind, enlightens your mind, inspires your mind, educates your mind, entertains your mind. NET Television opens up new worlds to you. Explore, travel, learn, discuss, debate. NET Television keeps you informed. Music, theater, dance, art, news. NET Television awakens your dreams, seeks to serve, strengthens our communities. We are Nebraskans. We are NET Television, Nebraska's PBS station.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Vehicles now going supersonic.
When you want to go above,
It was something new.
or reach beyond,
Oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
when you want to peer inside,
There's something wrong here. This isn't normal.
it would seem almost impossible, or push the limit.
Large tornado! It's humongous! We need to get out now!
When you want to dive deep,
These divers are like astronauts.
Our human nature is to push into places that we don't know about.
or go to the edge,
There are other worlds out there.
We don't know exactly what we're going to find.
when you want to find new frontiers,
I was truly astonished.
You just don't ever know.
Nova.
Wednesdays on NET1.
UNO Television gives students a chance to work in a real studio. Working on the TV crew, students get hands-on experience with lights, camera, and action. Working on a variety of shows gives students a leg up looking for jobs. In fact, many former crew members work at local stations. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for students to learn the science and art of TV production. UNO TV, student crew, professional staff, award-winning results.
Welcome back. We've been checking in at all of the mayoral campaign sites this evening just to see how the race is turning out and the vibe in those areas. We actually have Jared at the Dan Welch campaign. Jared?
Hi, guys. Reporting live here at the Marriott Hotel in Regency. Dan Welch actually just stepped off the podium where, unfortunately, he will be calling in a night early, knowing that he's still in fifth place with 10% of the votes, and yet he's quite certain that he won't get top two. He actually made some jokes in the beginning of his speech, and then he went on to thanking his family and support, or thanking his friends and family and for the support. Excuse me. But he he hopes that he made a statement in his debate and in his candidacy, and hopes that Omaha will be moving and trying to get these issues solved right away. And he also mentioned that he blamed himself for not getting more votes, and then wrapped it up by thanking all the people that helped him out in his candidacy. Reporting live from the Marriott Hotel in Regency for the Omaha News, I'm Jared Meyer.
Thanks, Jared. Actually, Welch was someone who really wanted to propagate businesses in Omaha. He feels that bringing more businesses to the city is great for revenue, and it just moves the city forward.
No, that's true, and he also kind of wants to focus on bringing more arts into the area, and Dave Nabity is also another mayoral candidate that really proposes that, but Dave Nabity is also on a smooth jazz committee. That's one of his big interests, so he talks a lot about developing 24th and Lake for an entertainment district. But speaking of the mayoral race, upstairs we have Kevin and Tasia reviewing the latest numbers. Kevin?
Thanks a lot, Lauren. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we've got some new numbers in here, and we're going to get to those in just a second. First, Tasia, really quick, I wanted to talk to you. A lot of talk has been going, has been about the revitalization program or to the area at Crossroads Mall. Can you tell me what role that plays in the city council, or whose district that's even in?
Definitely, and especially with us, being college students and just right down the street from Crossroads. It's actually Pete Festerson has been involved with the revamp of Crossroads. He's in District 1. He's talked a lot about stores, restaurants, apartments. They're undergoing a multi-million-dollar renovation. They're targeting the 28,000 college students that are here. So I actually have a question. A lot of the talk in the mayoral campaign has been how we can increase transportation in Omaha. Can you tell us just a little bit about that quick?
Sure. One of the things that was always been proposed has been a streetcar or rail car system to bring that back to Omaha. Subtle is all for that. A lot of the candidates kind of stayed away from that because of the cost and how the city would even do something like that. So it is interesting to see something like that. Suttle's pushed for a lot of bike lanes throughout the city, and he wants to increase Omaha or make Omaha more bike friendly. And a couple of candidates really agree with that. But I do want to go to these numbers hot off the press here in the mayoral primaries. Again, looking at it, we've got Jean Stoddard with a really comfortable lead here at 14,000 votes. Subtle is still behind her comfortably at 9,798. And then when we go to the third place, so again, this is battle for the top two spots. So the third place is Dave Nabity, and he's got 7,285. So really, he's not too far back from Subtle. If I'm Jim Subtle right now, I'm really looking forward to that 10 o'clock where all the votes are counted and he's safe. But Dave Nabity's not too far behind him. And if you are playing along at home, it looks like Mort Sullivan has 2 more votes than Mara DeLuca in Who Won't Lose. So yeah, let's check out City Council, Tasia.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. We do have some updated numbers for the Omaha City Council. It is Pete Festerson, District 1, is ahead with 4,108 votes. Then we have Ed Trumper with 2,105 votes. They will both be moving on to the general election in May. District 2, we have Ben Gray still in the lead with 873 votes. Second is Tariq Almin with 543. Then we have Bruce Hunter with 452. Then we have Timothy Ashford with 363. Then we have Dennis Womack with 181. In District 3, Chris Durham is still in the lead with 2,302 votes, and J.R. Jasso has 1,208. They will both be moving on to the general election. In District 4, Gary Grenand is still in the lead with 1,511 votes. Virgil Patlin Sr. is next with 734. Jacob Perazzo, 186. In District 5, Rich Pauls is the leader with 3,810. Jeff Moore, 2,736. Again, since there's 2, they will both be moving on to the general election in May. District 6, Franklin Thompson is ahead with 5,961 votes. Phil Klein, 3,925. They will both be advancing. District 7, we have Amy Melton still in the lead with 2,854, although it is close between Tim Lonergan, 2,094 votes, Thomas Mulligan, 1,552, and then we have Don Krupa, 522, and Cameron Gales, 315 votes. So now we're going to go back to the newsroom. Lauren and Marie.
Thanks, Tasia. I'm here again with political expert Dr. Paul Landau, and as we saw, Dave Nabity is in third place right now. Do you see him closing that gap?
I do not. It just won't happen. There's not enough votes left out there, and I think at this point, with 3 waves of votes counted, the die is pretty much cast, and it'll be Stothard and Suttle.
So moving forward, with Stothard and Suttle moving forward to May's general election, how do you see their campaigns developing, especially in terms of against each other?
Well, first of all, it'll be hard fought. That much we know, and then beyond that, the issues will be, as we've talked before, taxes and government philosophies. They're different people, and they've got different experiences. So, but in the grand scheme of things, though, I think that Ms. Stothard will try to establish herself as more of an anti-big government, anti-tax candidate, and Mayor Suttle will try to establish himself as the person who set the city's financial ship straight, and then we'll see how it plays out.
Now, with those differences in governing philosophies, what do you think that says about Omaha voters and what they're looking for?
Well, that remains to be seen. It's hard to say. I mean, I think you would have to say, any observer would say, that Mayor Suttle has not had an easy ride over the last 4 years. Some of it may be fair, some of it maybe not quite so fair. But the fact is, it's been tough for him, and he's had trouble with his popularity for a variety of reasons. So now that said, Councilwoman Stothard seems to come from a pretty popular base in West Omaha and has done well on the council. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think that most outside observers would say at this point that while you always have to give the advantage to the incumbent, Ms. Stothard is going to be a formidable opponent, and because she won the primary tonight, maybe would even have to be called the front runner against the incumbent.
Now, what do you think, if Jean Stothard does win the mayoral election, what do you think the biggest issue she'd be inheriting from Jim Suttle would be?
Well, I think, again, it would be, to a large extent, it would be taxes, and then secondarily, it would be the gun violence, drug crime, gang violence, and also, I think that just the general governance of the city, the labor contracts, the police and fire department, being certain that the city streets are plowed, repaired, all the sort of mundane aspects of life in the mayor's office.
Now, did you have any surprises with the city council election as well?
Well, I did. I'm surprised that Thomas Mulligan is in third place. Looks like he will not finish in the top 2, which means he won't be going on to compete in the general election. And as an incumbent, that's pretty unusual. Other than that, most council races look about as expected.
And did you have anything overall just as a surprise or just a thought that you had this evening? I know this is your last time with us. Anything you wanted to share with viewers?
Well, I think just the fact that the turnout was very low. We need to do something about turnout. We worry about that as political scientists and not just as politicians. And there are ways to increase turnout, but you have to have a willing political class that wants to do it. For example, many countries around the world vote on the weekends instead of on a weekday, a working day. That seems to help. There are barriers to voting inherent in the necessity of registering and how far in advance you need to register. If we could break down some of those barriers, we might get a higher turnout. But all said, many people just aren't very interested and they don't come out to vote, and it's unfortunate.
Well, hopefully that changes. I appreciate you coming here today, Dr. Landau, and sharing your insight with us. It's definitely appreciated.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Marie, and thank you, Dr. Landau, for being with us. Now, next we have Dave Nabity, who is, the proclaimed businessman of this mayoral race, who really wanted to focus a lot on how to bring back business into North Omaha. And live at the Dave Nabity campaign, we have Brandon Mosley. Brandon?
Yes, I'm still at the campaign. A lot of people are starting to leave, but the band is still playing. The votes weren't all the way in, and the band still was behind Dave all the way. They were chanting, "It's not over till it's over." But as of now, they want to keep hope alive, and it is not working. But everybody's still humble in a good mood. Nabity said he's about to go back doing what he was doing, and that's working at his business. And as of now, that's it until I speak with him later. Reporting live from the Nabity campaign for the Omaha News, I'm Brandon Mosley.
Thanks, Brandon. Now, there's been a lot of ups and downs in this election, a lot of people holding on to hope, and I think some of that hope is dwindling as the numbers come in.
It is. No, especially, the Brad Ashford campaign, I think because he's been in legislature since 1986. He's been involved in Nebraska politics. So I think he had been expecting, a bit difference in the numbers.
Definitely. Well, we have Jiajin Liu live at the Brad Ashford campaign. Jiajin?
Thanks, Marie. I'm live at the Brad Ashford campaign. Senator Ashford Charles in fourth place right now, and his chances of winning at this point are low. Ashford spoke 15 minutes ago, where he thanked his team and supporters. He also congratulated his competitors. He said he will continue to work to make Nebraska a better place. Ashford has been involved with advancing economic development for Omaha companies for 25 years, starting with LB 775, a bill he co-sponsored to prevent jobs from leaving Omaha, and the state legislative bill 775 has created and retained more jobs in Omaha than any other economic incentive to date. Brad Ashford has been involved with every major civic project in Omaha over the past 20 years, such as TD Ameritrade card and the UNMC Cancer Center. Reporting live from the Brad Ashford campaign for the Omaha News, I'm Justin Liu.
Thanks, Jiajin. Now, Lauren, a lot of the candidates have really been talking about taxes this election.
Yeah, no. Marie, one of the taxes that has been discussed the most and is decidedly unpopular is the restaurant tax. Many of the candidates have complained that it focuses on and burdens a small group of businesses and is really unfair. Another tax they discussed is the property tax, which affects a lot of the schools. And speaking of schools, we have Kelly upstairs in the newsroom reviewing the Omaha Public School Board election. Kelly?
Thank you, Lauren. In District 1, not much change as the votes go up. James English is still in the lead, followed with 587 votes, followed by Yolanda Williams with 513, LaDonna White York with 465, Larry Taylor with 294, and Aja Anderson with 170. In District 2, Neokia Stewart is still in the lead with 449 votes, followed by Mark Snow with 427, Morgan Price with 369. In District 3, Marion Fay is still in the lead with 1,612 votes, followed by Woody Bradford with 1,383, followed by Bambi Bartek with 363, Michael Warner with 318, Bill Huff with 216. In District 4, Justin Wayne, the incumbent, is in the lead with 1,410, Jill Brown with 1,328, and Eric Ewing with 664. In District 5, there's been a rather surprising jump. Incumbent Jennifer T. Kirschenbaum is now in the lead with 981 votes, followed by Lou Ann Goding with 887. Jeff Miller is following with 687. Scott Zimmerman with 245, and Angel Martin with 101. In District 6, Nancy Kratke is still in the lead with 1,675, followed by Matt Scanlon with 1,570, Barbara Doughton with 973, and Joseph Misiunas with 173. In District 7, Katie Underwood is still in the lead with 1,487, followed by Andy Allen with 640, and incumbent Danielle Barada with 575. In District 8, Lacey Merica is still in the lead with 177, followed by Meg Cordes with 135, William Forsey with 129, Eugene Hoffman with 127, and Juliana Garza and Mark Wallens are now tied with 118 votes each. In District 9, Rebecca Barrientos Patlin is now in the lead with 470, followed by incumbent Sarah Brumfield with 360, William Gahn with 258, and Brian Villafuerte with 124. Lauren and Marie, back to you.
Thanks, Kelly. And once the Omaha Public School Board is decided, they're going to have a lot to deal with right away. You know, how to make the school board more transparent, how to, better disperse, the income they have throughout the districts. But we'll have to find out more about that after the break. You're watching the Omaha News Vote 2013.
You've always known you were a leader, someone who works hard to achieve your goals. You can see it. You can see your success in front of you. You pursue a college education for the old-fashioned reasons, to learn, to make yourself more valuable, to succeed. You need a place that celebrates your ambition and positions you alongside visionary people just like you. You, my friend, belong here, the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Something wasn't right.
Were they lying to the public?
There was a bigger story here than just a plane crash.
It's become the symbol of everything that's wrong with the industry.
My kid got 6 vaccines in one day and he regressed.
Not only are those children who aren't vaccinated at risk, but those who can't be vaccinated are at risk.
Nobody really knew what was going on. What was it in this market that had to be hidden?
I spent millions of dollars in cash bribing government officials.
People in power do not like the investigation to come too close to them. You never hear these stories.
Tuesdays on NET1.
Welcome back to the Omaha News Vote 2013. We have some more numbers for the mayoral race. We have Kevin Grace up in the newsroom. Kevin?
Thanks, Marie. Yeah, we are ready. The Omaha News is ready to officially call the election, the primary for the top 2 vote-getting candidates. And as we expected all night, as they climbed, their numbers climbed, we've got Jean Stothert as the front runner. She will move on to the November general election to face incumbent mayor Jim Suttle. Once again, that's Jean Stothert and Jim Suttle. Look for them on the ballot in November. Thanks a lot. Back to you, Marie.
Thanks, Kevin.
Right. Well, I think no one quite anticipated for, Mayor Suttle to be in second place, but we have with us Katie Wagner live at Mayor Suttle's campaign. Katie?
Thank you. Right now, everybody is so optimistic. They're glad that he's on the ballot, and it's been excitement all night here at the campaign. What I can say is that supporters were very glad to say that Mayor Suttle has done a lot for Omaha, one of which is bringing the city into the black. And they're very glad, even with the sacrifices of the taxes that they've had to pay, very glad to see Omaha back on the right track. For the Omaha News, reporting from Jim Suttle's campaign, I'm Katie Wagner.
Thanks, Katie. I know there was a big upset tonight, Lauren, because Suttle wasn't actually in the lead tonight as was previously expected. Stothert was actually leading by quite a bit.
No, she is, and it's also interesting because the fire union, which is like the biggest donor to campaigns in Omaha, actually backed Mayor Suttle and wanted him to be reelected. So I'm sure they're glad that he's on the ballot, but they very much said that they didn't want Gene on the ballot as well. But live at Gene Stoddart's campaign, we have Ernest Powell. Ernest?
Thanks, Lauren. I am out here at Gene Stoddart campaign. Right now, she's addressing her supporters right now. I'm told that she is not going to make a victory speech of any kind right now. She is basically thanking her supporters as of right now for their hard work and dedication. I just also got a chance to talk to her campaign manager, Ryan Horn, who believes even though that none of her challengers have called her yet to issue their congratulatory, he feels that if she gets to 16,000 votes by the end of the night, that she will definitely advance as one of the top two candidates for the next month's primary. Live from the Gene Stoddart campaign, I'm Ernest Powell for the Omaha News.
Thanks, Ernest. We actually have some more numbers with the City Council. We have Tasia Velasquez up in the newsroom. Tasia?
Thanks, Marie. We can go ahead and give you some projected winners that we have here. In District 1, we have Pete Festerson with 4,108 votes. He looks like the projected winner for District 1. In District 2, we have Ben Gray. Ben Gray is far enough ahead, we can go ahead and call him the winner of District 2 with 873 votes. Second is Tariq Almin with 543. In District 3, the projected winner is Chris Durham with 2,302 votes. And J.R. Jasso, number 2, 1,208 votes. In District 4, the projected winner, Gary Gernand, with 1,511 votes. Second, with 734 votes, is Virgil Patlin Sr. In District 5, Rich Pauls is ahead. He is the projected winner in District 5 with 3,810 votes. They will both be moving on to the general election in May. District 6, Franklin Thompson is ahead. He is the projected winner with 5,961 votes. Phil Klein has 3,925. And in District 7, the leader is Amy Melton. She is the projected winner with 2,854 votes. Tim Lonergan with 2,094. Thomas Mulligan with 1,552. Don Krupa with 522. And then Cameron Gales with 315. So let's go ahead and go back to the studio. Thank you, Marie.
Thanks, Tasia. The ballot is set for the city elections, which will be held May 14th. Mayor Jim Suttle will be on the ballot, but he will face the top vote getter of today, Gene Stoddart.
The two have not agreed on a lot of things over the last 2 years, so it should be a very interesting race for the mayor. Thanks for joining us tonight. From all of us here at the Omaha News, good night.
You've always known you were a leader, someone who works hard to achieve your goals. You can see it. You can see your success in front of you. You pursue a college education for the old-fashioned reasons, to learn, to make yourself more valuable, to succeed. You need a place that celebrates your ambition and positions you alongside visionary people just like you. You, my friend, belong here, the University of Nebraska at Omaha.